What's up everyone? So it's been a while since I've actually made a video. There's my little dog Cooper. I can give you a bunch of reasons why I haven't made a video, but I'm sure you're not interested. What you are, there's my wife, 26 weeks pregnant. Yes. But what you are interested in is me making videos, and I really want to get back to making the videos, so I'm going to be trying to do one a week and see how we go from there. So I wanted to make this video about my commando tests and how I passed them and my story about the commando tests. Now, if you don't know what they are, it's the test at the very end of the 32 weeks of training in the Royal Marines. This is the Tarzan Assault course, the endurance course, the 9-mile speed match, and the infamous 30-miler. Now, it starts off with the endurance course. Now, before we even got into the commando tests, we finished Final X, and my feet were already torn apart. I was already in like a bad way at that moment in time. But honestly, by the time you're getting up to the commando test, you feel like nothing's going to stop you at that point. You feel like it doesn't matter what it is in front of you. You've done everything so far. You are going to pass them tests. And the thing that makes the commando test so hard is it's not like the actual tests themselves. A lot of people could, if they're fit enough, could go and just do them. But what makes it hard is doing it at the end of the 32 weeks of training where your body is already deteriorating. Is already in a lot of pain. You've got blisters, you've got aches, you've got pains, your back's still hurting, you've lost a lot of weight. You have gained a lot of muscle and a lot more and a better mindset, but your body is in such a bad shape. I got told at the end of training that it takes up to a year for your body to recover from the 32 weeks training, which makes complete sense to me because I was in pieces after it. So the first test, which was the endurance course, I remember like they get you really hyped up. The PTs, you're in Woodbury Common. The PTIs are getting you really hyped up, and they're like, you've got the infamous 3, 2, 1, go. And just as you build, you're in sets of twos, and you're building up to it. I remember like the two in front of you are setting off, and then before you know it, your heart's pumping. You're like, here we go. This is commando test number 1. Let's get this in the bag. And I set off going, and I remember getting in good speed. The person next to me completely took off, so I was like, the whole momentum of the endurance course for me was trying to catch up to that person, and once you caught up to that person, trying to catch the person in front of you after that, and just keep doing that and keep doing it. And I finished it with about, I think there was like 13-14 minutes to spare, so I did really well on the endurance course. It was the one commando test that I was really proud of. And I got to the end. I can't remember what I got at the chute at the end, but I know I did well with that. I kept my rifle relatively clean. So yeah, I did well with that one. By the time you've done that, you know, like your body is in bits because you've got rashes from your webbing rubbing on you on the sprint back to camp. Your feet are soaking on the way back to camp, so you're creating blisters upon your blisters. But the feeling of finishing, I remember getting through, there's like a little metal gate where the range is. You run through there, and I was just absolutely like so out of breath that like you feel like you're gonna collapse, like worse out of breath than you've ever felt before. And it's just the adrenaline. It's your first commando test. It's the adrenaline of being absolutely so determined and getting it done. I'm gonna open the door because it's so hot in here. It is so hot in this car. So yeah. The endurance course was the first one. I got it in the bag. I passed it with a really good time. And by the time you finish the endurance course, I remember that we had our green berets and was actually shaping them and preparing them for after the 30 miles so that they fit to us correctly. And yeah, so we already had them. So we had that kind of incentive. There's a lot of rumors in training where if you put your green beret on before you pass training, that it's like bad luck. But I don't believe in that stuff, and it certainly wasn't for any of us in the troop because we pretty much most of the people in the troop passed it, and we all had our green lids and we all shaped them. The next up was the Tarzan Assault course, and if I remember correctly, this was the one that I was going to find the hardest. I didn't have any full run-throughs with kit. I can't remember what it was, but building up to the commando test, I did something to my shoulder and they wouldn't let me do any full run-throughs of the Tarzan Assault course with webbing on. I did a dry run-through, but it wasn't the same. I remember getting through it as best I could, and then when I got up to the 30-foot wall, as I was climbing the wall, the PTI was like, Jillings, you've got 10 seconds to get up this wall. And at that point, your heart is pounding. You are so out of breath, like because it's such a little small, like kind of 12 minutes, an absolute blowout. I got to the top, and he initially said to me, "Oh, you failed." And I remember my heart sinking and being like, "Oh, I've got to do it again. Like I cannot believe it." But then he turned around and he was like, I'm only joking, you passed it, and you passed it by 2 seconds. So I was so close from failing. At this point, the troop who have already passed, have already finished the Tarzan assault course, are at the bottom of the 30-foot wall, just shouting and just absolutely hammering you with encouragement, like, you can do it, get up there, like, completely hammering you. And the PTIs encourage that, you know, like, trying to get you to get up that wall. And then you've passed the Tarzan assault course, and it's 2 down, 2 to go. And at this point, you feel like nothing's going to stop you. The 9-mile speed match comes along, and I remember being 2 miles into the 9-mile speed match, and my webbing snapped. Now, you learn to have maybe like an extra carabiner on your webbing in case something like this happens. But for some reason, I can't remember, but I used that extra carabiner, and I had nothing holding my webbing up apart from my arm. So I had rifle in one arm, and my webbing, holding my webbing up in the other arm. I remember thinking like the whole 9-mile speed, like the speed match itself, I think is the easiest one, because at this point, once you've done the 6-mile speed match to get your cap comfort and get into commando training, I feel like it's much easier after that to do speed matches, because it's like you just get into that momentum. So the 9-mile speed match I didn't find hard, except for when that broke, and it was right at this first part of this 9-mile speed match. So I remember being like more irritated from the run and more frustrated as the run progressed. Obviously I passed that. There wasn't many stragglers. I think we had 1 or 2 stragglers. At this point we had 1 or 2 people who failed the endurance, who failed the Tarzan, who were retaking it. If I remember correctly, out of all the people who retaked it, I think there was only like 1 retook it. There was only like 1 or 2 who failed the commando test and went to the troop before us and ended up passing anyway. There wasn't many injuries, so I was really proud of the troop. 9-mile speed match, you finish it, you go over the bridge, you get marched into camp, which is just awesome. It's such a great feeling having your cap comfort on, getting marched into camp. The rest of the training centers looking at you, they're clapping. You've got maybe old PTIs that have trained you clapping and congratulating you. It's such a good, humble feeling. And that's it. You've got the 30-miler, and that is it. And your feet are in bits. You've got admin to do because your webbing's messed up like mine was. You've got your stuff to pack because, you know, you've got your 30-mile ahead of you. You've got a few, maybe, I think I had like a bag of like a trail mix of berries and dry berries and nuts in my bag. You get off in the coach early in the morning, you get there and it's still dark. It's really, really early. You have a decent breakfast because you're going to need it. And then that was it. The 30-miler begins, and you start with this kind of deep anxiety and worry of, am I going to be able to do this? I was always really good at the long game, at running and yomping in the long distance, but I wasn't really a fast runner. I've never really been a fast runner. I've always been more endurance. And I remember the first 6 to 10 miles were horrific for me, absolutely horrific. Every 6 miles you stop. For my case, I had some ibuprofen and some paracetamol. You have some sort of salty, sugary drink, maybe a pasty or a banana, and then you go to the next. And you just got to think, you know, let's get to the next checkpoint. Let's get to the next checkpoint. And you do it. Halfway through the 30-miler, I remember having like kind of hallucinations and kind of like, it felt like kind of like a dream. I don't really remember much of it. But the last 10 miles of it, for some unknown reason, I had a burst of energy. Better than what I did at the start, and there's a good period of the last 10 miles where it's on roads and country roads, and I was going up and helping direct traffic. I was like telling the troops to come along and to move and the cars to stop, and I don't know where I had this burst of energy. And then it got to the last 2 or 3 miles, and there's like a hill, and you can kind of see the humpback bridge from a distance. And I remember being on top of the hill, and your body, like, I can't really describe on how it feels. Like, your body is in so much pain, but you are right there. Like, even though you feel like you're gonna die, you're there. You've got a mile left, and you're gonna get your green beret. And I remember passing over the humpback bridge. You stop just before. You stop like 200-300 meters up the hill before the humpback bridge, and you get into formation. Because at this point, you're all over the place. You get into formation, and you march over the bridge with all your friends clapping you. I think I was the second group to go through the bridge, and a friend of mine was already, like, I had 2 friends who were in Hunter Company with me, and one of them was already there, and we congratulated each other. We had some food. At this point, your body is like seizing up like really badly, and you're really stiff. And then the next lot came along, and my other friend was in there, and I remember coming up to me, and his bottom lip was wobbling, starting to cry. At this point, I was already holding the tears. I was doing okay, but his bottom lip was wobbling, and I was like, oh, I'm going to start crying. So I started tearing up, because it's emotional. You've just done 30 miles, your body is exhausted, you just earned your Green Beret. Like, it's the best feeling, like, you can feel, really. And I remember shaking the hands of the boss, getting my Green Beret, putting it on, looking at my mates and just being like, wow, we've done it. I got onto the coach, I got my phone out my bag, and I remember calling my mum and dad up and just being like, I'm a commando, I've done it. And they're crying. My dad, obviously, he was in the Navy in the Falcons War. He's in tears, I'm in tears. And it was just one of them days that was just like, it feels like a dream now because it was so long ago, but it was so magical. And there was so much work put into it that even though there was 30 miles ahead of you, you took one step at a time, and there was just nothing going to stop you. And I hope whoever's watching this video, I hope you get to this point. I hope you managed to do this. If you have done your 30 miler, if you've attempted it, if you failed, or if you passed and you got your Green Beret, comment down below your story, because I think it's genuinely a special story that not many people experience, and a lot of people want to experience. So yeah, I think it's a magical thing. Comment down below, like this video if you like it, if you want me to do more videos. I enjoy making these videos, little stories like these. If you like this format, hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe, because I'm going to be putting one up a week. And I will see you in the next video, everyone. Take it easy. Oh, and before you go, actually, I have started a private Facebook group for people who are wanting to join the Royal Marines. And it's doing so well right now. There's just nearly 100 people on there, and everyone's commenting, talking, sharing workouts and stuff like that. It's a brilliant community. If you want to join the private Facebook group, link down below. Take it easy, everyone. Bye.